Welcome, everyone, to the Holstein House podcast. I'm the West Virginia woman, Robin, of RobinHolstein.com and Holstein House, where my guests get a great night's sleep at a fair rate plus breakfast. This is a podcast that looks at society and culture issues affecting families in West Virginia and the United States, from food preparation and storage, gardening, home repairs, current events, and more. We'll go around the table and back in 60 minutes or less. So let's hang out and talk a while.
Hey, I'm back. Oh my goodness, it's good to see you. I'm glad you were able to be here. Or if you're not here live, then doing 8,000 things and messing it up again. If you're not here live, you're catching this on the replay, then please be sure and say hello when you catch up, when you get there. So let me see. Did I stretch this? It looks like I stretched this. And now my things are not looking right. Oh my gosh, there's always a lot of, especially when you're doing it yourself. You have to do all the buttons and you have to do this, that, and shuffle around and check everything. And it makes it a little harder. I enjoy it. It's fun, but I need to do it more often to have a smoother, I know I've got everything set and everything just goes smooth, muscle memory kind of thing going on. Oh my goodness. But anyway, so good morning. As I record this, it's just a few minutes after 10 on August the 5th, 2026. Eastern Daylight Time. I guess it'll be Eastern Daylight Time. I don't know. There's chatter every year about this time. Actually, it's about twice a year when the United States reaches the point where we're supposed to switch from daylight savings to standard time and from standard to daylight time. And they've started that noise again. It's just a pacifier. That's all it is. It's just to pacify the masses. They're not interested in doing a whole lot. I will be surprised if they change it, either to stay on what we're on now, which is daylight time, or go back to standard time. My preference is to go back to standard time, but I'm only one person and they don't listen to me. So welcome to episode 146 of the Holstein House broadcast. I am so glad you stopped in. I'm so glad to see you. Please comment. And if you're here with me live, we're streaming to YouTube, we're streaming to Facebook, and we're streaming to Rumble. So please make your comments. And I need to open up Rumble here. That was one of the things I was going to do, to make sure I see your comments. See, I'm out of practice. I do want to welcome you. If you've never been here before, no Rumble, I don't want premium. Thank you very much. That's not right. Why is that not right? Oh, that's last week's. I apologize. If this is your first time here with us, my name is Robin. This is the Holstein House broadcast. I am the proprietor of the Holstein House Bed and Breakfast. I'm still trying to get to my live feed here on Rumble so I can get in there and, darn it, see what's going on. Should be this one here. There we go. Live chat. So if you're in there, please say hello. I'm sorry for this rough little opening, but I am Robin Holstein. I am the proprietor of Holstein House Bed and Breakfast and Micro Homestead, and I call it Micro Homestead because I am a small home with a backyard garden and backyard chickens and ducks. I do some ferments, I do some breads, I do, canning and dehydrating and all of the things there. This is not right, Rumble. Let's see what happens now. But I do a little bit of all of the things, and and I like to show other people how to do it, and I like to, kind of document how I'm doing. I've got Clapper going on over here and Rumble going on over here, and Facebook and YouTube going on over there. So I want to welcome you. Today we're going to talk about the how to prepare our pantries. And I say pantries kind of broadly because we're talking anywhere from just that little cupboard you have near your kitchen where you keep your canned goods to the bigger, or your basements with your shelves and all your canned goods and all your preparedness things, and anywhere in between. How we're going to prepare for the coming cost increase, and there are cost increases on the way. We do know that. Stupid Rumble. Why are you being this way? We do know that prices are going up because of it says starting. Why is it not? It says I'm live, but it's not feeding the stream. Oh, why is that not working? I don't know. It says, oh, that's me waiting, so. It acts like it's not. I just have to go on. I just have to forget about it. Rumble, I'm sorry. I will try to upload the live stream to you later. But we're living in a time where the basics aren't just basic anymore. They're becoming our essentials, essentials. And we're going to have to start shifting a little bit of the way that we prepare ourselves and the ways that we shop and we plan our menus, especially if we're, I don't want to say low income, because it's not just low income. We all have an income, whether it's considered low, medium, or high, but we all have bills to pay. We all have things that we're responsible for doing. And anybody, regardless of your income, can be up against the wall. Maybe you have a big mortgage payment. Maybe you have a big vehicle payment. You can't go out and buy a basic car with just nothing much more than, AM, FM, air conditioning and heat for less than 25 grand, and financing that stuff. They talk you into financing for 8 years sometimes. So it's crazy. And we have these responsibilities, and we have to make the payments. And so we budget. And when our budget gets hit by things like, the increases in fuel prices and increases in grocery prices and things like that, we have to make adjustments. So today we're going to try to dive deep into some practical, well, not so much gardening, but practical. I have some notes I'm going to have to skip around. Some practical shopping, what we're about to expect, what's coming down the pike, and ways to we're not going to be able to avoid all of it, but we can reduce the impact on our budget by changing the nature and the way we shop, the nature and the way that we cook. So hopefully you'll get something out of that as we get to talk about that. Let me do that real quick. Have you noticed the increase in prices at the store? I don't know what's going on with that. I want to get rid of that off of my screen, Clever. That's not a comment. That's something Clever put on there. Anyway. Prices right now aren't too terribly bad, but what we're looking at happening in the next few weeks is an increase because of the, I don't want to say inability, but the end of corporations absorbing the tariffs. So the corporations, regardless of your opinion, and I'm not here to argue pro or con, either way, regardless of your opinion of the tariffs and of big corporate box stores and retailers and things like that. So this is a reality. The reality is that they have been absorbing some of the tariffs, some of the effects of the tariffs. They've been absorbing some of the effects of this big swing, up and down of fuel oil prices. Every day. I mean, it changes hour to hour. Of course, if you watch the stock market, you know that anyway. But every day, if you watch the news at a certain time of day, it says today fuel prices or oil was up. Today, oil was down. Today, oil was up. I mean, out of 7 days in the week, you're going to have 7 different swings in oil. So it makes it hard for the fuel producers, the refineries, and the corporations to guess what to sell the fuel for. And they have some margins built in, but they're starting to get to the point where they can't continue to absorb the tariffs, or they're not going to. I'm not going to get into their motives, but that's going to stop, and we're going to start seeing the increase in prices at the grocery store, because the stuff that's been produced now for the shelves in, say, October, and that's the time frame we're looking at, the shelves in October, right before the holidays, the stuff that's being produced now is being produced at a higher cost than the stuff that was produced a few months ago to reach the shelves today. Does that make any sense to you? Hi, Lisa. I'm glad to see you, honey. We need to have lunch. We're long overdue for lunch. So the cost of everything is included. When you see fuel prices swing like this, it doesn't just affect our gas tank. It affects everything. Everything. Petroleum products are in everything. They're in plastics. They're in fabrics. They're in, medicines and pharmaceuticals and writing instruments, computers, our telephones. Everything has some kind of petroleum product in it, and the swings in that prices also affect us at the grocery store. If you think just in the meat department, you've got a styrofoam backing on your meat, you've got plastic wrap across of it. Those are petroleum-based products, folks. They have petroleum in them. The sticky on the back of the labels, I think. Oh, I'm glad to see you, Lisa, and you can pop in anytime and say, hey, it's great. I tried to promote your teaching thing when I see it. So, but a lot of times you have it limited on who can see it. So a lot of people won't catch it if I do, but you take care and drop me a note and let me see if we can get and have lunch sometime. But yeah, petroleum products affect everything. Then then we're also talking about fertilizers and weed killers and all kinds of things that go into growing our food. All right, let's see. Today, grab your coffee. You should already have your coffee. I'm trying to read a little bit. I'm trying to focus. I can get so scattered. If you've watched me very long, I can start in here and went way over there before the day's over. So I really want to try to focus a little more. I'm not ignoring you. I'm just trying to stay focused. The USDA, so it's the United States Department of Agriculture, for those of you who may not be in the United States or one of our territories, is projecting that coffee prices are going to increase about 25%. 25%. That's crazy. And beef is going to climb about 15% this year. So your grocery store receipt is about to take a big hit, and your monthly budget is going to be stressed. So, but what I want to try to share with you is that looking a couple ways that we can try to tariff-proof our kitchens. And it's not gonna be foolproof. Okay, it's just a little bit of tariff-proof. a little a little elasticity in our budgets. So I've talked just a little bit about the lag in the tariff is around 12 to 18 months. So the tariffs were put on about a year ago. I don't remember the exact date. It's so easy to find those dates, but I don't remember what it was. But we're approaching, October is going to be about the 18-month point. I'm thinking in my mind it was about this time of year last year. It may have been September when the administration started with the tariff thing. And so you've got a lag. You've got a lag in things that are in motion for production. So steel that's being tariffed was already being produced, and the contracted price was already paid, or it was already under contract. So they couldn't add the tariff to the contract. They could add it somewhere else, maybe, but the steel's being produced. So so they're absorbing a little bit of that because they're talking about, well, you're going to tariff you unless this happens. And then it was 100% tariff, and it was 10% tariff. And so corporations are absorbing some of those costs in this fluctuation. So the steel that's coming out, and we're going to use this for the example, and then it goes to the manufacturers of the cans that we buy canned vegetables in. Okay. So the steel comes out. It's got a tariff, but they're going to absorb that for a little while. It goes out and it's made into cans. The cans maybe not made in the United States, so they're going to be tariffed as well. I think in the UK, it's called value added. Maybe in Europe as well, I don't know, but I know in the UK it's called value added. So there's a tax on each increase in value, each along the way of something, okay, fine. But so now the cans are made and they're being shipped or however they get to the United States, and there's that tariff. And then if the green beans, we'll say the green beans that are going in the can are coming from Mexico, the green beans are going to get tariffed. So all of these things are getting hit, right? But the contracts are already made. So the contracts are already in place, so they can only charge X amount. And so, they're absorbing some of those costs. Well, those contracts have ended. And so now we've got the steel that's coming through that wasn't under that contract is coming through. It now has the new tariff on it. Okay. So now these things it takes ages, people. They don't just burp these things out in a couple days and get them onto your shelf. This stuff takes months and months in process. It's like building a house. Everybody's got their part, and you don't do it overnight. Even if you get a prefabricated house, those prefabricated pieces took a long time to put together before they got to you to put to put your product in, or to put on your property, or whatever it's going to be. So what we're going to do is we're going to say October. Now it may be different in different areas, but we're looking at October especially for this conversation of 2026, that we're going to try to get our act together, try to get our menus planned, try to get our shopping lists together, try to get ideas of getting around some of these tariffs and reducing the impact on our kitchen budgets. So fresh vegetables from Mexico, as of the time that I was looking this up the other day to get ready for today's broadcast, fresh vegetables from Mexico are looking at about a 25% tariff. Now, I know, especially right now, we're still seeing the effects of the unfortunate lettuce and unfortunate cilantro and unfortunate, apparently today, hot peppers. I heard a piece on the radio this morning while I was getting my chores done that apparently there's jalapeno peppers that have the same bacteria in them that's causing the gastrointestinal issues that the unfortunate lettuce was causing. But I'm telling you, folks, now I have no qualms with Mexico in general, but I'm telling you, their hygiene standards down there are not the same as in the United States. what happens in those fields when they're harvesting stuff is not stuff that you put up with in the United States. Sometimes I tend to lean conservative, libertarian on things, but I am so thankful for a lot of our health regulations and just there are things in the water or things on the ground that get in the water when they water these plants, and that bacteria, cyclosporasis, I can't remember what it's called now. It gets in that food and it won't wash off. And so you get it and you get the diarrhea. This is the kind of things that back before modern medicine would just kill you. You'd just die. If you had gastrointestinal issues like these folks are having out in the Wild West back in the day when, Doc Farmer could only just give you a little bit of snake oil and tell you you'll be fine. You'd roll over and die because you just dehydrate and you just, diarrhea yourself to death. I mean, it's crazy. We don't stop to think about those things. But anyway, so vegetables coming out of Mexico are costing you 25% more, along with maybe upsetting your stomach. And so we want to start looking at prioritizing our homegrown tomatoes, bell peppers, berries, if you can do that. If you can't grow them, of course you can't start them now. It's too late in the season. But if you don't have them already growing, get out to your farmer's market. I'm telling you, I know it sounds like a pain to find one, but get out to your farmer's market. First off, if you're at your farmer's market, you're not paying a tariff. Our local farmer's market in Charleston, they're not, unless they're importing stuff. There's one of the stores inside the fancy building that goes with our Charleston Farm Capital Market that imports all kinds of stuff. I look at the back of, dish towels and ladles and different gadgets that they have in there. And they're from all over the place. I mean, China, India, Pakistan. They're importing all kinds of stuff. I don't know about the fruits and vegetables that they sell. I would assume that when they're out of season for the United States or for West Virginia, when there's no active market out there, that they're importing those too. So not to diss that wonderful community corporate thing. But anyway, the actual farmer's market where people in your state or your community are growing the vegetables themselves, you're not paying tariffs on that. So look at what's current. Now we're starting downhill of the garden season. There's still going to be a lot of stuff available for a long time, but we're going downhill. This is August. We're not planting. Well, there are some things you can plant. We can talk about that later, but we're not planting en masse large gardens now. We're not going to be harvesting a lot. I get it. It's daunting, but buying from your local farmer's market is going to save you money in the long run because you're not going to pay those taxes and you're not going to pay the tariffs because they're built into the price of your food when you go to the grocery store when they're out of country origin. Then you have to look at where, they have to be labeled in some manner. Now, one of the things that will throw you is meat. And I don't know every detail. I just have a broad overview. If meat is, cattle grown in Mexico, I'm sorry, Mexico for picking on you, but cattle grown and raised in Mexico, shipped to Texas, slaughtered in Texas, and packaged up at one of the major processing facilities is considered a product of the United States because they slaughtered them here and they cut them up here and they packed them here. So it's hard to know on beef and poultry and pork unless you're shopping local. Again, the thing about beef and poultry and pork, local grown, going to your local butcher, is those are going to be a little higher priced. Why are they higher priced? They don't have tariffs on them. They're higher priced because it's a smaller facility. So these big giant facilities, just like anything else, if you buy in bulk, well, that's what these big facilities are doing. These big butcher shops and processing plants. They're buying the cattle, the poultry, the pork in bulk, so it costs them less. It's just a matter of math. But your local farm, your local rancher, your local butcher shop that is dealing with locally grown, American grown animals that we're going to eat, because we're omnivores. We eat vegetables and meats. It's going to have better nutrition as a rule, because they're better taken care of. They're going to be leaner generally. You can find out if they're grass finished or if they're finished on grains. A lot of people have very big opinions about that they be grass finished. You can, in theory, visit and see whether they're humanely treated. However, that runs into an issue of biosecurity, where you could be tracking a contaminant to that ranch. So it's not like you can just walk up and knock on the door and say, you got to show me, because you may have been in an area you can't go from this farm to this farm to this farm, because you might track a disease from this farm to this and give it to this one and give it to on your shoes, on your clothes. It's hard to tell. But, for the most part, you can find out the reputation of that person, whether they grow their animals humanely. And a lot of them that do the organics, that grow humanely, they make a big deal of publicizing that because they want your business. They want your business. So what hits your budget a little harder is actually better for your body. It's better for your body. So for practicality reasons, we want to emphasize that you're going to eat what you store. Okay? That's the number one rule in pantry preparedness. And I know some people kind of grimace at the word preparedness because they think of those shows on TV a few years ago where they had all these buildings stocked full, and I'm a prepper, and here I'm a prepper, and I've got food in this thing buried in the woods out here, and nobody's going to get it. That's not preparedness. Is not only that. Okay. Preparedness is being ready. If you live in an earthquake area, you're prepared. You know what to do if an earthquake happens, right? You maybe have some flashlights, and you maybe have some extra water, and maybe you have a hard hat, or whatever it is that you do. I don't live in an earthquake, never have lived in an earthquake area, so I'm not really sure where the shelters are and all the things that you're supposed to do. And that's what we're doing here. Only we're doing this with our groceries and taking care of our families that way, or ourselves. Now, I have several friends that don't have family. I don't have children in my home anymore. My son lives in Virginia, and so unless somebody's over, unless it's a reason, there's not going to be somebody here most of the time. It's just myself and Mr. Holstein. So, we're basically keeping up for just us, but. The pantry is any place where you're storing your things that don't need to be refrigerated, your foods that don't need to be refrigerated, your canned goods, your home canned goods, your dry goods like your cereals, your oats, your spices, those kind of things, beans, dry beans, I've already said home canned, store-bought canned stuff. That's your pantry, You have your freezer, you have your refrigerator, you have your pantry. One of the things that we tend to do when we start worrying and try to stock up real quickly is we start buying things on sale just because. And I've been guilty of that. And every time I go down to the basement where my pantry is, and I look at the things that are still good, but I haven't eaten it in a year. It's kind of like your clothes. If you haven't worn this outfit in a year, you should probably donate it away. Well, there's food in my pantry that's been there for over a year. I haven't even cracked any of it. Not that. So, for example, I've got some pie fillings, some store-bought pie fillings, and I only have a couple of them, but I haven't made that pie in a couple of years. I think it's cherry pie filling. I haven't made cherry pie for a couple of years. I need to make it to use that because I don't want to have to throw it away. But it's not, it's just why I bought it. I don't remember because we don't eat it a lot. But eat what you store. That's a rule. Learn from your past mistakes. Look, don't fill your shelves with fruit butters and stuff that you're not going to eat. I went through a wonderful, I love to can fruit butters, and I canned a bunch of peaches into peach butter, and we don't eat that much of it. We don't really eat a lot of jelly. We don't eat a lot of apple butter. As much as we love them, it's not part of our everyday, meals. So having all those jars of jelly, yeah, I could give them away. And I probably should have by now given them away. They're still good. There's nothing wrong with them. They're still sealed. They're fine, but they're a little old. I don't know if people would want them if they're a couple years old. People are funny about home canned stuff. Well, but I am too. I'm funny about other people's home canned stuff. Unless you know exactly how somebody is home canning, you maybe don't tell them that you threw that food away they gave you. So strategic swaps. Some of the things that we can do to help reduce the cost at the grocery store and the cost of building our pantries is swapping expensive stuff. We kind of touched on this for domestic stuff. So swapping expensive imported beef for domestic poultry or pork. Did you know that in most recipes, not all, but most recipes, you can substitute ground beef with ground pork? Unseasoned. I'm not talking about sausage. I'm talking about just straight out ground pork. And a lot of times you can do that with poultry too, with chicken or turkey, ground chicken or turkey. But as flavor-wise, you don't notice it as much if you substitute some ground pork for the ground beef. And a lot of times the pork will be less expensive. I haven't priced the pork lately because what we do is and this is something else you can do, is get together. When I talked about going to your local butcher, finding out about ordering sides and halves of beef and pork, and going in with some friends who share your how you think and what you're trying to do, and splitting the cost of it, because it is kind of expensive to just go in and order half a beef or half a pig. Mr. Holstein and I are at the point now that we can do that, because we're only doing it like once a year or so. Not even that, because we got half a pig here. It's been almost 2 years, and we're just now finishing it up. So we didn't order the pig last year, but we did order the half beef, and have still got some beef. So it kind of flops. This year we'll order the pig. Next year we'll order the beef. But when you buy that like that, you're getting and you think, oh my gosh, I don't want to pay that much for ground beef. No. You're getting steaks, you're getting ribeyes, you're getting roasts. If you get the offal, which is OWFAL, offal, that's the heart, that's the tongue, that's the liver. Oh my gosh, beef liver. I've got so much beef liver, and we don't really use it much. But you get all of that, and it drops that price per pound significantly. It really does. So maybe, and it's not really difficult to understand. What you're doing is you're paying for the rancher's cost to raise the beef, and then you're paying for the butcher's cost to cut it up. Okay, so there's two prices in there, but so you have to put those two prices together. You divide it by how much food you get, the pounds of food you get, and you end up getting these awesome cuts of beef, like ribeye, like for $2 or $3. Yeah, you're getting $2 or $3 ground beef, and you're getting a lot of ground beef. My advice to you: have them package for 2 adults. Don't have them package for a 4-person household. It is much easier to manage opening your packs if you're packaging for 2 adults, because you've got, 2 ribeye, 2 steaks, in a package. So if it's just you for the weekend, you don't have to open up enough for 4. If the kids are at camp, you don't have to open up enough for 4. If everybody's at home, you open one up for 4. You open up 2 for 4. So it's in my mind, it's better to do that, to have your butcher package these things up for a household of 2 instead of for 4. But that's up to you. Oils, cooking oils and things of that nature, they're going to go up too. We've got weather-related issues. We've got tariffs. Olive oil is probably going to be, sorry, I made that hard switch. Olive oil is going to probably be the worst of the bunch, going up a lot higher. If you look at olive oil at the big box store, and you can see, I don't know that you can get close to a gallon anymore. You used to be able to get a gallon thing. I don't think they're a gallon size anymore, even in the metric. But it is astronomically high. Consider using other oils, sunflower or avocado, or look for U.S. produced olive oil. There's not much of it. I think Texas and maybe California do it. It may be higher. You got to do the math. But, be ready to switch. Now, of course, if you have health issues, your doctor's after you about what kind of oil to use. Listen, study it up, look it up, study to show yourself approved. Look it up and then make your decision on which oil. But be ready. Be ready. Frozen berries. One of the things that helps, of course, fresh berries go to waste real quick. If you can get them locally and you can cook them, or you can put them up, dry them, dehydrate or home can or freeze them yourself, that's the best thing to do. That's going to be the most cost effective. But fresh imported berries are going to be much higher cost than frozen berries. And I know sometimes the frozen berries are a little less presentable because they've been frozen and the crystallization of the moisture and stuff makes them not quite so. But give it a shot. It's going to be a better way to do your stocking your pantry and your freezers if you will buy the berries that are frozen. If you're putting them in a pie, it's not going to make a big deal. Some frozen berries you can dehydrate. So if there's starting to be too little room in your freezer, dehydrate those puppies. If you don't have a dehydrator, start looking around for those. We can talk about that some other day too. I should make a list of things we need to talk about. We want to start with a 3-month buffer on your pantry, a pantry that will get you, and I'm not talking about, if you live in a small apartment, this might not exactly fit for you, but I'm not talking about the stuff where you go every day, where you pull your cereal down, where you pull your peanut butter down, where you pull your oils down in your kitchen. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about your pantry to build up a 3-month supply of groceries, 2 to 3 months of coffees, 2 to 3 months of shelf-stable staples. We want to work on that in the next few weeks, the next couple of paydays, so that you can get a buffer. This will get you right about the holidays. So we talked about oils, flour, cooking flour, not the stuff you smell, but cooking flours and wheat and grains. They're going to be hit as well. You've got an issue with fertilizers because of the war in Europe. And also the part of the world that's in Europe that's dealing with that war is where a lot of our wheat berries come. The wheat berries are the pieces that they grind to make the flour. So you've got limited fertilization for the wheat fields, interruptions because of the war in the processing and packaging of the wheat and the wheat berries, and transport to the United States and packaging. Granted, most of your flour is going to be in paper bags, but all of these things, the tariffs, the oil, all of these things are going to be impacted. And so that's also going to start going up. I have a friend, Angie. Hey, Angie. I don't see you on, but how are you? Can't have gluten. She's got raging celiacs. So she has to look for alternatives. Well, the other grains are going to be affected as well. Your rice, your oats, they're all going to be affected. So anything that you buy that has them, your prepackaged cereals that have wheat, your store-bought bread that has wheat or rice or oats, just consider it grains, crackers, foods that are thickened with wheat or grains, all of these things are going to be affected. So learning to make your own breads, make your own crackers, building your own cake mix, all of these things, cake mixes are going to go up. Store-bought cookies are going to go up. All of these things are going to be hit. So we want to build a buffer now. If you do a lot of baking at the holidays, you want to start getting your supplies now. If you're selling for the holidays, you want to make sure you've got extra supplies now so that you can keep your prices low. We want to open packages in the fall that if we went to that are priced from right now. So let's say a bag of flour costs $5 today, and in October, November, let's say November, it costs $8. Well, when we open the flour that's on our shelves, we're only paying $5 worth, right? Because that's what we paid for that. It's not $8 sitting there now unless you try to sell it. So you invested $5 into that bag. Something else is, don't be brand loyal. Now, I know a lot of us, there are some things that it's got to be this brand or nothing. For me, it is cleaning and disinfecting is Lysol brand products. Lysol all-purpose cleaners to just wash generally. Lysol bathroom cleaner to clean the bathroom. Lysol spray to spray stuff. I even have Lysol sanitizer for our laundry, especially because I have I rent the guest room out on Airbnb and DirectBook and stuff like that through Holstein House. Go to robinholstein.com. But I wash the things that need that are washed in cold water. I put the Lysol laundry sanitizer is for cold water wash. You put it instead of using fabric softener, you put it in the rinse thing, and it distributes during the rinse cycle, and it sanitizes your fabrics. That's one that it doesn't matter the brand, how much it's going up. I'm going to buy that brand. It's just bleach is different. I buy generic bleach, store-bought bleach, but I buy Lysol and I'm not endorsed by them, so don't worry about that. That's one area that I don't. Now, my dishwasher, I use a store brand. My laundry detergent, I use a store brand. Just about everything else, I use a store brand. Pardon me. There are some things that it doesn't matter. It's all the same. So when it comes to my pantry, most of the things I buy are either brand names on sale or store brand. I have no loyalty to the store brand. I have no loyalty to brand on a lot of things. So let me see if I can do this real quick. I wanted to show you, I've got all right, there's that. Let me get it. And let me take that background out of there. Where is it? Okay. I'm hoping you can see this. I don't know if you can see unfortunately, Clapper, you won't be able to see this. This is just a screenshot of, so I have, like a lot of people, I've got the Walmart app on my phone, and you can do this. The example that I'm showing, for those of you guys who can't see this, who are either on the podcast side or on Clapper, I'm showing a screenshot from the Walmart app, and Walmart is just a mile from me, so I have to figure in the cost of fuel, if I go somewhere else. On oatmeal, on oats, okay? So the Walmart app will show their brand name, then it will show, their brand, it'll show brand names, it shows you prices, and if you if you get it centered just right in your phone, you can get a screenshot. So on this, it's showing that Quaker Oats, old-fashioned 100% whole grain oatmeal in the can. There are two different sizes here. I think that says I can't scroll in and enlarge that on my end. I think that says a 16-ounce canister is $2.98. They also have it split out the price per ounce. And when you're looking at ounces, and you're looking at pounds, and you're looking at dry weights and stuff, be very careful. These folks are sneaky sometimes. Sometimes they'll show you price, so it'll be two of the same exact things. Let's say, let's say cupcakes, okay? So you've got a package of cupcakes. You've got two different brands of cupcakes. Each have 12 cupcakes a piece in them, okay? Let's say that. Brand A will say the price per pound. Brand B will say the price per each. And so you're trying to figure out which one's the better deal. The one by pound might be better, but you have to do some basic math. And how do you do that math? You have to look at the weight. You look at the weight. Not by each, but by weight, because that's going to be the same on both. It's going to be on both. So one may weigh a little more. Didn't mean it that way, but so here's this example. I'm not sure if you can see my pointer. If you can see the pointer, you'll be able to follow it. So it says it's 16.6 cents an ounce. Okay, great, $2.98. That's awesome. Now the Walmart brand is great value, 100% whole grain quick oats, 42 ounce. So it's more. The container is bigger. Okay, but it's 10 cents per ounce. So the bigger container, it costs more. It costs $4.18, but the price per ounce is less. So at the checkout, your receipt would be less if you bought the Quaker Oats, but you're paying less per ounce if you buy the store brand, the bigger box of store brand. Does that make sense? So you want to do a little bit of math. With technology the way it is now, and with all these different store apps, and there's a thing called Flip, and there's another one, I can't remember what it is. If you remember what it is, please put it in the comments for me, and I'll include it somewhere. That helps you compare prices at the different stores near you. So if you put in oats, it would pop up the price of oats at the different stores that you follow. So you can use that. You can use that to help plan, and that's another thing. You got to plan this stuff. If you work outside the home, see, I can sit and I can do this in the mornings, and then go out and do what I need to do, and make my store lists, and then go shopping as part of the routine of the day of taking care of my household and all the things. But if you're working outside the home, you're thinking, oh gosh, I don't have time to do this. You have breaks, right? You have a few minute break here and there, and you have a lunchtime. Do a little bit on those. It's just, get your notepad. Don't use your computer phone for taking notes. Use a piece of paper. Okay, it helps stick it in your brain better, really. So do a little math, do some comparative shopping, get your list made up, and then you're going to have to account for, the time you spend running around and the fuel you spend, driving around. So is it worth driving to 2 or 3 stores? Maybe. Or is it worth just going to the one that's closest to you and maybe buying store brand? Let's see. I've got to, let me see. I need to exit full size. There we go. Let me get to this image and See if I can switch it this way, because I have another one here too. Nope, that's Abby the cat peeking over the... There it is. Okay, here's some pasta. For those of you who can't see, I've got a screenshot of some penny pasta from Walmart. We're looking at 3 different brands. Okay, penny pasta from Walmart brand, for the Great Values brand, the Barilla, but it's a Protein Plus, so it's not exactly a great comparison, but it's the best one I could do with the screenshot. And then we have Mueller's, or Mueller's. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. So what we have here is Walmart's Great Value penny pasta, 16 ounce, is $1.24. The Barilla Protein Penny Pasta, plant-based pasta, 14.5 ounce. That's 1.5 ounces less pasta. Now, maybe that's because it's got that extra protein in it. I don't know. Big muscled pasta. I don't know. Then we have the Mueller's sodium-free, cholesterol-free penny regatta pasta, 16 ounce. So maybe Barilla's protein pasta is a different size, and that's why they go for the, to keep the box the same size, they go for the, but you got to watch that too, because stuff is, they call it shrinkflation, where the package gets smaller, but they keep the price the same. You got to watch it too. But back to the pasta. The Great Value brand, Walmart's brand, is 7.8 cents an ounce. The Barilla Protein brand is 19.6. The Mueller's is 8.6. So the Mueller's is just about, let's see, just about 0.8 of an ounce more, or 0.8 of a cent more per ounce. Maybe that's not a big deal for you, so you go ahead and you buy the brand name. I'm just going to get the Walmart brand, or the store brand. I don't make a lot of fancy pastas. I'm usually just buying spaghetti, just spaghetti noodles. I sometimes will make a lasagna, not very often. I love to make manicotti though, and my son, he always loved to have manicotti. And when he was in for Christmas, instead of a big turkey and stuff, I made some manicotti for him, and he ended up taking a bunch home. Made Mama feel good. But so this is just a couple of examples, and I'm sure a lot of you guys already know this stuff, and you're yawning at me and you're saying, "Oh, please, we already know this stuff." But some people don't. They don't teach this stuff in school anymore. They don't teach so. Add me back. There we go. Sorry. They don't teach the kids to count. They don't teach the kids to use a checkbook, because they're just going to swipe stuff, but they're never thinking about how much it's coming out of their bank account, because they're just swiping it. Automatic deposit, automatic withdrawal, and they never even see it. They have no idea, just exactly what they're doing when they're spending all their money left and right. And I'm as guilty as anybody else. I spend way too much money on some trivial things, and I need to rein that back in myself. But I am trying to get my thing back up here. I'm trying to rein some of that in. I really am trying to rein some of that in. I've got a lot of stuff I need to try to sell either on eBay or yard sale or, Facebook thing, market. But I do need to offload a lot of stuff. I keep saying that and I keep not getting it done. So last weekend I was planning, hadn't really got past the planning stage to have a yard sale, and something come up that just absolutely blew that plan out of water, and there was no salvaging it. I could try it again this weekend maybe, but I think the weather's not going to cooperate this weekend. I'd rather do that than deal with Marketplace and posting stuff all the time. And eBay, I like the idea, eBay, but I just don't have any luck. I have a lot of things that my friend Angie said, "Oh, this will sell," and it didn't sell. People don't want the stuff I got. But so we're gonna look at the sizes, and we're going to get away from the brand name. Another thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the where it's from, sourced in the United States. It can be tricky on things like the penne, just for example. You look on the back and it says distributed by so and such corporation, some street, some town, Ohio. It's distributed by. That doesn't mean that's where it came from. So you have to do a little bit of sleuthing, looking things up to see where the products are sourced, to know if they really are, from the United States. AI might help you a little bit if you form your question properly. The thing about AI is it's like the rest of the computer world. It's garbage in, garbage out. AI a lot of times will, if you just say, where can I get American-made coffee? It'll probably tell you to go to Starbucks because they're making coffee at Starbucks down the street, right? So, no, you cannot talk it. Oh, big cannot practice your English with me. Sorry, don't do that. It's all how you have to word your questions properly to get the right answers out of AI. AI will sweet talk you. I mean, it will tell you are the best thing since sliced bread, when in fact you're not. Oh, that's a wonderful question. You are so smart to ask that question. Oh, that's right. You know more about this than I do. I've seen that on some of the chats that I've had with AI. I sat down with AI one time, the Google Gemini. And we went through, Mr. Holstein and I spent months going through every evening after he got off on work, after his dinner and everything, and after he watched the 6 o'clock news and everything, he'd kick on Dark Shadows. Well, Dark Shadows is a soap opera style science fiction show that has vampires and werewolves and ghosts and witches and all this craziness, but it's so campy. And so, because it started back in the 60s and it was so low budget, and you see cameras, boom mic shadows, and people forgetting their lines, and you can see them reading their cards. You see people moving around the back. So after we watched a couple of episodes, even though the storyline was just absolutely insane, we're watching for all these odd little things that are happening that, aren't, you don't see it today. So it's so campy. And I'm using AI. I'm sitting there with Gemini on my laptop, and I'm asking it questions about this show and what's coming up next, and how long do I have to put up with this? Because there's one character that every time she does something, she's got her mouth dropped open wide and her eyes are all freaky. Well, AI tells me, she came from stage theater. That was what she did before. And when you did stage theater, you exaggerated all your emotions so the people in the back could see you. Okay, I get that. But I asked it a question about something that happened on the episode that we were watching, and it gave me this weird answer. And I said, well, that can't be right because blah, blah, blah. And it says, oh, you're so smart to catch that. I was wrong and you were right, and it's good that you informed me of that. I mean, it just was buttering me up like, breakfast biscuits. It was crazy. So you have to word AI right. So if you're going to look for these things, if you're going to try to search, whether you're just using Google search, because now AI is incorporated to most of it, or anything, you have to be careful about how you word your searches. Or you have to look at the answer, the response you get from your search, and think it through. Is this really, yeah, okay. Where can I get American-made coffee? Oh, there's a Starbucks around the corner. Where can I get coffee made from beans grown in the United States? Now you're getting a different story. So I actually, and coffee is just one of those things you just have to decide where you're going to go. I don't get all of my coffee this way, but I do have a subscription through, unfortunately, Amazon, which they're not a sponsor or from whatever. For Hawaiian coffee beans that they're not 100% Hawaiian coffee beans because they have some others, but there's a percentage it's a higher percentage of Hawaiian beans. So I get that every 2 months. I get a bag of that every 2 months. There's no Hawaiian things produced in Hawaii, fruits, vegetables, coffee beans, aren't subject to tariff. They're U.S. state. Now, there's transportation costs and things like that because it's so far out in the ocean and all that. I do understand that there is a growing, I don't know what, they're not gardens. What would you call I don't want to call it plantation, but anyway, fields of coffee growers in California that are starting to pop up and it's starting to produce. I don't know the brand names of any of those yet. It's something I still got to look into because although I'm not fond of California for other reasons, if they're producing good coffee beans, I would rather buy those than the stuff out of South America or other places that are imported to get around the tariff. So we have to be ready. We have to be willing to swap things out. Then you could also look at, so one of the things for your pantry, what I'd like to suggest that you do in the next few days, and I think I suggested this last week, is to audit, it's a $10 word, audit your pantry or your cabinets. If you don't have an official pantry, audit your cabinets. Look for the things that you've bought that you don't use. I talked about this before, but I've got some lemon bar mix and some other kind of special cake mix and biscuit mix and stuff like that in my cabinet. I haven't even cracked the seal on yet. And they've been there long enough, it's time to use them. I'll have to give them away, send them with Mr. Holstein to work, but I need to get them made and get them out of they're taking up space and we're not eating it and it's going to waste. We can't afford to waste food. Not in this, as much food as we have in this country, we still should not be wasting food. So audit your cabinets. Set the things aside that you know you're not going to fix in the next 3 months. Okay? Set them aside. Maybe you donate them. Don't donate them if they're way past their best by date. A lot of people use food can drives and stuff just to get rid of stuff that's old. Please don't do that. I mean, if you know somebody who can use them, maybe you take them to work and put them on a table with a sign that says, here, anybody that wants them can have them, just so that they're eaten. But that's not what we're doing. So audit your cabinets, your pantry. Take out the things that you know you're not going to fix in the next 3 months or so. Things that you had good intentions of using, but you're not using, I got to do the same thing. Set those aside. Look at what you have. Plan out a very simple menu. Now, I'm not telling you to create a menu that you're going to chain yourself to, that you absolutely can't adjust for any reason. I'm just saying, plan out a very simple menu. I'd like to see you do it for a month, but if you can give me a couple weeks, that's fine too. Just a basic things that you think back in the last couple weeks or last month and write down, 3 times I fixed hamburgers and fried potatoes. Okay, that's a thing we have here. Not a lot, but we have here. Hamburger we fix a lot, usually with corn and green beans. But okay, so let's do it that way. Hamburger, corn and green beans. I did that 3 times this week. One day we had hot dogs. One day we had roast chicken. And one day we had salmon patties. And put your sides that went with it and your drinks and all that stuff in there and just make. I prefer that you do this on a piece of paper rather than on your computer, but you do you. And look at what you actually eat. Okay? And think ahead. say, okay, would I eat that all the time? Which of these things do I really enjoy and I eat a lot? Check those off. Make that a twice a week thing or something. But use it to build your pantry list. Think of the spices that you usually use. I have a cabinet full of spices that I barely cracked the lid on because I bought them for a specific meal, and I used a little bit of it, and then maybe we didn't like the meal, or maybe I just haven't fixed it since. But try to consider all of it. Again, if you're at work, sit down at work, ask one of your work buddies, hey, if you were doing this, what kind of a menu would you make? And start talking it up at work a little bit. Not that you're worried about, providing or anything, but that just you're trying to streamline what you're doing at home, right? So then create that little menu and make room. I mean, we're going to go out and get pizza, or we're going to go out to eat dinner, or we're going to go out with our friends or something, and make a little allowance for that. But in general, come up with about a month's worth. Look at what you've got. Compare that to what's still in your cabinet now that you've weeded out some of the stuff. And start figuring in your head what you're going to have to shop for. I like to make sourdough bread. I'll go months without making any, but I know I need to get back on that. Because making bread, even though bread's really all not that expensive, it's not as expensive as a Starbucks coffee, it's still expensive. You can a packet of yeast, a little bit of water, and flour, and there you go. No, that's not sourdough. That's regular bread. If you don't know how to make it, you can teach yourself how to make it. There's all kinds of YouTubes and all kinds of things out there that will help you learn how to make a loaf of bread. If you want, and there's no harm, no disgrace in it, use a bread machine. I have two. I've purchased more than that, but I've given some away. I have two bread machines right now. One of them the book came with it, but I've got them both at the thrift shops for, I think, about $6, $5 or $6, wasn't that much. Those things are outrageous, brand new. The big difference was it had been used. Somebody didn't like it, so they sent it to the Goodwill, or where, I forget, Mountain Mission or somewhere that I picked it up. I make bread at them all the time. Now, what I don't do is I don't let it finish. The only thing I use my bread machine for is processing the dough. I finish it in the oven because I don't like the shape of the bread machine bread, and I don't like that the paddle is up underneath there, so you get this big hole in the bottom. And that bread, it even with the electricity it uses and to process it in that machine and then put it in the oven, it doesn't cost as much as a loaf of bread at the store. You know what's in it. It was made in America. It doesn't have a lot of preservatives. One of my favorite bread brands, or is it a brand? Well, the brand is Sara Lee. I guess Variety is the next descriptor. Anyway, it's the artisanal bread. Artisanal bread. I love that stuff. It's really thick cut. It's really sweet. It's just is a fabulous bread. And when I have Airbnb guests, I get that. And what I do is I separate into serving packages and freeze. And so I always have some here. But anyway, I provide that to my Airbnb guests. But I'm going to tell you something. That stuff will set on my cabinet, in my cabinet. It'll sit for 2 weeks without molding. The preservatives and stuff that has to be in that bread, I can't imagine. And I'm afraid to look, honestly. But we shouldn't be eating all that stuff regularly, especially when we've got the advantage of slow cookers and timers on our stoves. I have an old-fashioned stove. It still has pilot lights. I love it, but it's starting to let me down. Anyway, they've got timers on them. They've got, we've got slow cookers, we've got bread machines, we've got toaster ovens, we've got all these things, and we're still going out to this and buying things pre-made. So get a bread machine. If it doesn't come with a manual, you can look them up. Most of the time you can find them online, the manuals for them. I've got a Proctor Silex that didn't have, I think it's a Proctor Silex, that didn't have the manual, and I looked online, there it was, downloaded it. The only thing I needed was to make sure that I was putting things in properly, because different bread machines want you to add ingredients in different ways. But what the two that I have, you put the wet stuff in the bottom, you put the dry stuff on the top, and then you let it go. Mostly. And I have a book about that deep on different kind of breads you can make in bread machines. But again, I don't like to finish mine in the bread machine because I don't like the shape of it. I don't like the shape of it. But you know, you're actually making a loaf of bread for less than $1, really. You can get your bread pans at the thrift shops for less than $1, you know, or flea markets. Well, flea markets too, and yard sales is the word I was looking for. But I mean, you can get everything that you need for a lot less. So, you know, making your own bread. Then, if you get good at it, if you really get good, so maybe you're taking it to work because you tell people, you know, we can't eat all this before it goes bad. Because, oh, I love this. I'll make some for you, $5 a loaf. Now you're making money to supplement your grocery bill. There's a thing going on right now in the homesteading world that has to do with farm stands. I don't know if you've seen farm stands yet. I'm really going over. I didn't want to go past an hour, but they're all over the place. And West Virginia has this cottage law that you can, you can make certain types of food from your home kitchen as long as you label it properly and say, I made this in a home kitchen, and these are the ingredients. It listed by order of the most, most to the least, and that kind of stuff. So you can sell that stuff. So now people are putting these little bitty sheds up at the end of their property and putting QR codes and like add email or Cash App or exact change cash things in them, and doing an honor system and setting foods out like breads and stuff out for people to drive by and buy, and honor system pay. You make a little extra money. So you got your $1 worth of bread and you sell it for $5, you're getting $4. Put $1 in your pocket, put the other $2 back into your pantry to keep going back. 10% goes to the Lord first, so remember that. But so there's things like that you can do. Holidays are coming up. You could stock up on, if you're gifted with baking, you could stock up and start taking pre-orders, because that way you know exactly how many you have to make and when you need to have them for cakes and cookies and things like that. I'm going to try that. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it because the way my street is, first off, I'm not on the main road. I'd have to put some signs out, which is not a deal breaker. But there's a portion of my street that is pretty narrow. You can get a full-size pickup through there, and there would be a little more. Well, Mr. Holstein pulls the camper through there, but he fusses because the trees scrape it. But it's starting to slide, and they've closed the road there, so you can only come in and go out, and it's really kind of tight. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to do that? But I'm thinking about doing this, but I got to get a building. I've got to get the structure made to put the thing in. I think I might. I like the idea. I may try it and see what happens. But there are ways to do that. Of course, you can supplement if you have space to do Airbnb in your house, or if you have a camper or something, you can do that. But those are ways to supplement your income so that you can, deal with the tariffs that are coming and the increased prices that are coming. Let's see. An audit of your. Well, here's a note that I have to share with you. Perform a 10-item audit of your pantry this week to identify your highest tariff exposure so you can find a domestic alternative. So if you looked in your pantry right now and you start looking at your labels and stuff, what items in your pantry, what 10 items are the highest exposure to be, highest likelihood to be exposed to tariffs? They're going to be things that are imported, maybe olives, olive oil. We talked about that before. That's going to be a big one. Canned goods, just generally, because the cans are going to be very expensive relative to what they've been before, I should say, because it's not just the cans. You're talking about what's in them too. And look for domestic U.S. or you may be in another country, but obviously in the United States, look for a domestic alternative to that. Doesn't mean you're a failure if you can't find one. Okay, it doesn't. It just means it's going to be harder than you thought. And let's see what have I got down here. Substitute U.S. produced sunflower oil with and avocado oil for your olive oil. This is good. Myself, I struggle with this because olive oil is the least processed of any of the oils. The amount of squeezing, squishing, grinding, and filtering things to get these other oils, these exotic oils, is just, I don't want that much work, but it may come down, if money gets tight. Now, I will remind you, oils and anything that's oil-based or has a lot of oil in it, like biscuit mix has, well, it's not oil, but it is oil, but they go rancid. They're not forever. You can put olive oil and sunflower oils and stuff like that in your freezer or your refrigerator. It will stretch it out a little bit, but they do go rancid. So you have to be careful of how long you keep them. I've run into that myself. It's not that I didn't know better. I had some just corn oil, which everybody hates, but just some corn oil, in the pantry, in the back, behind some other stuff, and I saw it, and I'm like, I cracked the lid, and you could smell the rancid. It's a very specific, bittery kind of smell. If you're into this kind of thing, that oil can be set aside and used for fires. Oil burns. You got to have enough heat that, in theory, you could use it for something like that instead of just pouring it out or throwing it out. You could write a note on it that said rancid, used for lubing the bicycle chains or something, So olive oil is currently facing a double squeeze from 15% EU, European Union, that's what that means, EU, tariffs, and drought conditions in the Mediterranean regions. So that's enough. We didn't touch a lot about weather today, weather impacts, but we've got drought conditions in the Mediterranean. I saw a story this morning on the news that over around Germany, I'm not sure if it's Germany specific, but over in that area, the drought is so bad. Rivers are drying, and German ships that were bombed during the Second World War, you can see most of them now. They had been underwater, and now, like half of them sticking out because the water has dropped that much. A friend of mine in another state was talking about how low the water was in a river that she crosses on a routine basis. Here in West Virginia, the river where I'm at, Canal River, I don't notice much. Of course, we've got some dams on them. I haven't noticed that the river's been low. We've had quite a bit of rain this year, so I'm thankful for that. But I don't think there's parts of the state that are in drought conditions, but where I'm at, we're not struggling with that. You can save 15 to 20% and avoid price spikes when using domestic alternatives and looking for the product of the USA to ensure that it has no. My note to myself says zero tariff exposure, but even like we were talking about the beef earlier, product of the USA just may mean that the beef was slaughtered or packaged in the United States. So you kind of have to look at that label. Use domestic pastas instead of the Italian stuff, the 100% Italian stuff, because Italian pasta, the wheat, this is again where we come back to the wheat and the wheat berries in Europe have been affected by the wars and the droughts and all these things. So those inputs, the wheat that you use to make Italian pastas in Italy is going to be higher. So along with the tariff prices, you're going to have increased in ingredients. We talked about those. We talked about the store brand pastas and stuff. I have a note to myself that says Italian pasta is currently facing a staggering price increase due to basic tariffs combined with anti-dumping duties that can reach up to 91% or more. Choosing a brand with a Product USA label ensures that you have minimal tariff exposure. So what are we going to, I'm sorry, I'm going so long. What are we going to stock up on now? So based on the current economic data for 2026 and the strategic planning for us here, we're going to try to lock in the pre-peak pricing before the full impacts of the tariffs hit the grocery store before October. Shelf staples, your coffees, your pastas. Let me get this down here. I'm sorry, I'm reading. I hate that. I'd rather be looking right at you and rattling this, but I have to read. I have too many notes to not read. Coffee is projected to increase 19 to 25%. If you are able, soon, not like panic, oh my God, I got to go get it. Plan it, spread it out, but do this. Stack up a 2 to 3 month supply of coffee. Okay? Coffee is one of those things that brands do make a difference. But if you can really do the store brand and shop around and get a 2 to 3 month supply of coffee, it's going to help your bottom line budget. Pasta, imported Italian pasta faces the staggering potential price increase of up to 107%. Now that's what we were talking about before about the increase plus the tariffs plus the weather-related issues. Stock up on U.S.-made brands like Mueller's or the store brands to avoid these duty tax and prices. Cooking oils are going to see a 15 to 20% hike. Secure your supply now or transition to domestic. If you have to have, because I really prefer to use olive oil. I've been using olive oil for 90% of my cooking for decades. I got married at 17. So I was keeping house at 17. I'm 61 now. I've been doing this a while, and I've been using olive oil for decades for the majority of everything I cook that needs liquid oil. I do have a little bit of Crisco shortening because every now and again you need to grease a cake pan and flour it or something like that. So I do have a little bit of that. I have some of that in my freezer. If you think you're going to need some shortening, of course that's going to go up too. It freezes, but it also goes rancid. So don't forget, don't buy so much that you're not going to use it. And again, if you're sensitive, I don't mean physically sensitive, but if you're sensitive about using highly processed oils, make that decision, but know why you're making it and shift something else. If you have to have brand named olive oil, but you can go with generic pasta, there you go. Start making some changes there. Canned goods, focus on U.S. grown foods and like tomatoes, U.S. grown canned tomatoes and canned seafood. Be aware the tariffs on steel and aluminum are driving up packaging costs for all canned items, even those produced domestically. So the cans are probably coming from out of the country. I don't know this. I don't know do we have canning productions here? I should probably look that up. See, I should have made a note about that one too. So focus on U.S. grown canned tomatoes, for example, canned seafood, salmon and tuna. I'm not a fan of sardines, but sardines, if you like them. These are very, it doesn't sound like it, but for the protein, when you're starting to think about, okay, I can't just live on bread, I got to have protein. They are the best investment. And it doesn't have to be the brand name either. But I have seen, and I don't have a picture of it, sorry. I have seen that some of the big box, like the Costco's and the Sam's Clubs, if you can afford to be there, if somebody will do it for you, to buy bulk cases of canned tuna, canned salmon. It really is at a great price. I actually have to do that. Mr. Holstein just almost wiped me out of canned tuna. I just all of once he decided he was going to eat tuna for lunch at work. So he packed up, and I got him some crackers, of course, and some stuff. But so he's just about wiped out my tuna, so I have to restock that. When you doing the math, it's just, and it's longer term. You can keep it, it's shelf stable. So you can eat it right out of the can if you had to, if you were in a situation where you couldn't heat it. But these are good options for proteins when you're trying to get your menu together. Your dried beans and lentils, a lot of times they come in under 20 cents a serving. If you're not used to eating a lot of dried beans, go slowly. Go slowly. I know we always hear beans and rice, and that's great, except that's usually not what we eat anyway. Stock what you eat. Have some dry beans and lentils. Start adding these things. Lentils are a great extender on a lot of foods that you can put those in. They cook up really quick, and they've got a lot of nutritional value. So lentils are great. If you buy some, start trying to use them. Learn how to use them. Freezer inventory. When poultry is up about 0.3%, pork's up about 1.3%. When they go on sale, get them. I kicked myself about a week and a half ago. Mr. Holstein had been off for a doctor's appointment. So we went out to lunch, and then we was kind of just poking around, and we went over. We have this gigantic new Kroger store in the area. It's not close enough for me to shop every day, or I guess I could, but I'm not going to. But we stopped in there. We hadn't been in there yet since. It's one of these things. It's like they're trying to compete with Walmart or something. It's just huge and has all kinds of stuff that's not grocery store related. But they had pork butt shoulders on sale for 50 cents a pound. And it was all I could do not to buy any, because we've got on order a half a pig. And I'm like, I really need to get this. And I can cut it up, and I can can it, home can it, pressure can it. Yes, you can. For 50 cents a pound. That's crazy. When you look at the cost of like ground beef at $4, $5 a pound. So it was all I could do not to buy. So, shop the sales. Don't buy more than you can eat, but shop the sales. And learn to home can, learn to freeze, learn to dehydrate. They're all easy to learn. They're all easy to do. If they weren't, mankind wouldn't have survived. But inventory your freezer. Even if you just have one of those small ones above your refrigerator, if that's all you got, check it out. If you can't, fill it up. They're meant to be filled, and don't fill it with ice cream. But you could put some ice cream, but don't fill it with ice cream. Have some food in there. Inventory it and shop the sales. Get your freezer pantry, your freezer stocked up too. Egg prices have fallen a lot. Remember, what was it back? Was it in January this year? Yeah, it was January this year when they were like $7 a carton or a dozen, or even more in some places. Now I have my own chickens, and not everybody can do that, so I'm not hurting for eggs. Actually, I have too many. But get your eggs. Now, I do not advocate trying to scramble and dehydrate eggs. Don't do that. Eggs are hard to keep, but they do keep for a while, especially in the refrigerator. So check your eggs. Eggs are another awesome source of protein. They're the perfect protein, and having them on hand is another key to a good pantry, because you can boil them, you can devil them, you can mash them, make egg salad. There's several things that you can do. For a tariff-proof or resistant kitchen, build up your domestic grains and sweeteners, your rice flour, your regular flours, your sweeteners, sugar and honey. Try to get that domestically if you can. I can get domestic honey. Well, domestic meaning U.S. product honey and sugars. That's always good. If it's a brand that puts it out of reach for you for your budget, then just get the off brand. Don't be so tied to U.S. domestic that you pay more for something that you don't need to. I have a problem getting off brand sugars. at Save-A-Lot or Walmart or wherever I'm going, Piggly Wiggly or whatever. I don't have to have a big name sugar. Sugar. The difference is, what they coat it with to keep it from sticking. That's all. So I'm not worried about that. Honey, we do purchase domestic honey. That's something else that you can get at your farmer's market usually. And honey will keep pretty much indefinitely. Yeah, it kind of gets hard and stuff, but you can put that down in some hot water, melt that puppy back up, and it'll be just fine. You can substitute it almost one for one. I recommend that you check, look it up on a site that you could trust, not just Instagram or TikTok or whatever to get their ideas on it. Because, on TikTok they tell you to eat laundry pods. But anyway, you can substitute it almost one for one in just about anything. So it's a good source of sugar, calories. It is also an almost perfect food, just like eggs. It's a shame you can't coat eggs with honey. Can you coat a boiled egg with honey? Wouldn't that be awesome? Honey-coated boiled egg. Huh. Anyway. So audit your cart. Check for the product of the USA label when you're going shopping. If they're not going to have a tariff on them. Store what you eat so that you're not throwing things away after a few years. Avoid the throwing cash on the pit fire. We're not running out panic shopping. There's no predicted shortage. But we're trying to avoid price increases. And try to create a 3-month buffer. If you can't pick it all, I really don't want you running out and trying to do it all at one time, because then you got 3 months worth of groceries, right? And then your budget's all blown. That's not what I'm suggesting you do. You pick up a couple extra things. If you know you're going to be using a lot of flour, maybe you get a couple extra bags this payday and a couple extra bags next payday. Budget it out. Budget it out, though. You get ready for it. I'm not going to go on because I've gone over an hour and a half now. I do have some more information on conducting and auditing your pantry and identifying your top 10 and things to change. The goal of the audit is to help you build a 3-month buffer of essentials that your family actually uses. Remember, I mentioned before, I have a bunch of stuff that we don't really use that much, but I bought it, a lot of it, to avoid the prices a couple years ago. But yeah, now it's just sitting there. Adding 2 to 3 domestic versions of the items that you use to each shopping trip over the next several weeks to protect your budget without a large upfront cost is part of the plan. Legumes, eggs, poultry, pork, canned seafood. It can be a lot, and we've spent a lot of time talking about it today. And like I said, I went a lot over what I really wanted to. I like to keep these at an hour, but there's quite a bit going on today. I hope it helped you out some. I hope it gives you some ideas of things to do. A lot of it is really common sense for some of us, and not that you don't have common sense. But I mentioned a little while ago that they don't teach this stuff in school. There's no home ec in schools anymore. The only people that get home ec in schools are homeschooled kids. And some smart aleck politician here a few weeks ago, or maybe a newscast woman or something like that, made a snark that, homeschool kids are weird. Well, yeah, they're weird because they're normal. They're weird because they're normal. But we don't teach basic math anymore. We don't teach, when I went to school, it's called consumer math, just everyday math that you needed to function, checkbooks and bills and balancing budgets and such things like that. They don't teach home ec. So you've got all these people on Instagram and TikTok talking about, here's how you sew a hem. And I'm thinking, who doesn't know how to hem pants? But, there's a lot of people that don't know how to hem pants. And there's just ways to save money and save food and shop wiser and prepare. And, it's not for the zombie apocalypse, but if you want to pretend that you're being prepared for the zombie apocalypse, okay, I don't care. I just want you to be ready. I want you to have a little bit of a plan. You can't be ready for everything. I mean, I mentioned way early that I don't live in an earthquake zone area. We have had earthquakes here. It's been weird little ones that didn't do anything other than spook you. You're like, ooh, what was that? And then the news tells you there was an earthquake. So I don't have an evacuation plan for earthquakes and a go bag for earthquakes and things like that. But we do have tornadoes. We do have floods. West Virginia has been hit with some tremendous floods this year. And every so often we get hit with just a lot of floods. And our topography contributes to some of it because we got the steep mountains and then the narrow hollows and stuff. And so the water just sheets down and, you know. But we have the floods, we have the tornadoes. There was a couple times I'm just a block from one of the sirens for the weather sirens, tornado sirens. And it went off one day and I'm like, this is Wednesday. Because it usually goes off they test them the fourth Wednesday of the month. I think that's a national thing. It started back in the, was it First World War? I can't remember. You might remember. But I thought, what's it? The siren's going off. And at that time, Betty was still alive. Our dog Betty was still alive, and Paul, our other dog. Oh my gosh, that's the tornado siren. And so I got the dogs and we went down to the basement, and I realized that my basement is a nightmare if a tornado came. Where I really needed to be, I can't get to because I got too much stuff in the way because it's an unfinished basement, but it's all piled full of stuff. And so my husband has a hard hat here that he'd had at one of his jobs, and I had grabbed it and put it on my head because I thought the stuff would be falling. And I was trying to get the radio. Well, my AM radio doesn't work in the basement. I knew that, but I didn't know it. I forgot. And so I've got my AM radio with the batteries. I'm trying to dial it in. It doesn't pick anything up. Picks up the FM stations, but the FM stations doesn't have the emergency station on it, right? So, and I've got the computer. I can use the computer, but I'm thinking, if I lose my internet, then what am I going to do? I can use my phone, but if cell towers go down, if the power's out and all this other stuff. So I had this brief little panic, and I sat down with the dogs, and I was trying to keep them up against me, and Betty was freaking out over the siren because it just kept cycling through as it's supposed to. Bob, he didn't care. He was just laid back and snoring on the dog pillow. But I was trying to keep her calm, and there were bad winds, and I have not been in a tornado. So my adrenaline's getting going, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh. But in my brain is also going through, if a tornado goes across and it tears up the house, what do I do? So I need a better plan for my tornado. I have a go bag. It's not very well put together. I need to work on it too. So many things I need to do. But the bigger point, and I keep rambling, the bigger point is we're not preparing for the end of the world. We're not preparing for disasters. We're not preparing for the zombies. We're preparing for a significant financial hit in our budgets. And a lot of people don't know how to do that. So I want to help you get ready. I want to help you get ready to ride the waves of these this impact of increasing prices. Maybe the administration pulls the tariffs or drops them before it really gets bad. Maybe they open that stupid canal thing that they keep fighting over, blowing people up left and right. I don't remember, the Strait of Hormuz or whatever it is. And oil flows freely and the rest of the world calms down and everything settles. But the chances are some of these prices aren't going down because the nature of the human being, when they get into corporations and the prices and they want to, and I have to be careful here because, our retirement through my husband's work is in the stock market. I want the stock market to do good. But the stock market, so the corporate heads are worried about their investors. The investors are the people like us who put their retirement money in the stock market. And then I don't want the prices to stay up, but they want the profits for the investors, and the investors are us. So it's this cycle that there has to be a balance somewhere, but human nature is greed. Okay. Human nature is greed, and they're going to want to keep prices up. That's like automobiles. We talked about that earlier. Automobile prices. You can't get the basic automobile with not much more than a radio, heat, and air conditioning in it now for less than $24,000. You can find them here and there, but it's hard. Well, why should the price be that high? They got up that high but they never went down because. So it's very frustrating, and sometimes maintaining a budget is very frustrating. For those of you who don't know, it's not like a badge of honor or anything. I'm not saying it that way. It's just an example. I mentioned before that, I first got married. The first time I got married, and I've been married more than once, I was 17 years old. And he had joined the service, and we got stationed at Fort Hood, Texas. And I'm out there on a PFC's salary trying to pay for our rent in this little apartment that was just barely big enough to have a couch, a full-size bed, and a stove. I mean, it was a teeny tiny place. And shop for groceries, on a PFC's pay at the time. I mean, we did a lot. We ate a lot of beans, pintos. I had my little menu thing. My little menu was like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, it was pinto beans. Tuesdays it was hot dogs. Wednesdays it was hamburgers. No. Tuesdays it was hot dog. Tuesdays it was hot dogs. Thursday it was hamburgers, and Sunday it was chicken and spaghetti maybe on Saturday. So that's what we ate for months. I rotated it through every now and again, maybe get a frozen pizza or something, but not very often because we didn't have the extra money. It was crazy. And I tried sewing his name badge on one time, and it didn't work. So we had to, because you had to pay for it to go, you had to send it off to the laundry to get it sewn on. Just it had to be perfect. I couldn't do it. I wasn't able to, even though I could sew a little bit. I couldn't sew to Army standards, but there were people who could, and you had to pay them to do it. But the idea was that I had to budget. I had to watch the money like a hawk, and any fluctuations could throw us off big time. And we're about to face some significant fluctuations, and I want you to be ready for this. So I'm going to try to do another live on Tuesday, which would be, let me see, where's my calendar? Which would be August the 11th. Yeah, I think I can do that, the 11th. About the same time, 10 o'clock, because 10 o'clock seems to be a good time. Gives me time to get all my morning chores and the chickens and the ducks and dogs and cats all taken care of, and get a shower and get ready, all the things before come on. And we'll try to do this again and do your audit. Do your audit, and let's see what your audit shows. I'll try to find time to do mine. My pantry's a lot bigger, but I'll audit. But it's the top 10 things. The top 10 things. So do your audit. Thank you for coming this far, because if you came this far, then obviously this broadcast was for you today. Please like, share, and subscribe. I do need to build my followers up, but I don't like to do, I just don't, I'm not a self-promoter. I just don't do that very well. So if you don't mind to like, share, and subscribe and get the word out about the Holstein House broadcast, I really appreciate it. You guys over on Clapper, if you could help share. I don't know on Clapper how these lives work. If it doesn't appear that they're recorded anywhere, I mean, like they stay, yeah, I'm live, but I didn't see, from the last time I did it, I didn't see any recording of the last video I did. Havy, the cat wants fed, and she's got a pile of food up there. Just, what? I wish you could see her. She's orange and white. You can come over here? You come up here? Come up here and see people? She's not, no, she's not going to do it. She's not a cuddly kitten. She likes to have her head rubbed, but she's not cuddly. You can't pick her up and pet her. But Where was I? Oh, like, share, and subscribe. Those of you guys that are on the audio version only, like Fountain, for example. Fountain, I know you can clip and you can tip with Bitcoin and stuff. And I know I'm not that good. I'm not that awesome, but maybe you could drop me a couple sats over there. That'd be great. But to help get the word out on the broadcast. And I say broadcast because it's videoing, plus it's also recording the audio, and I'll be uploading that here shortly. The audio doesn't go out live to Fountain. I think they're working on that. You guys who use Fountain, I would appreciate hearing a little more about it. The changes in it. I mean, I've been using it for a long time when I do the broadcast, but I don't know. There's been some changes to it, and I'm not familiar with it. Kind of gotten away from Fountain and Nostr and my Bitcoin stuff and everything that I was doing there for a long time. I kind of got away from it. Hopefully we can get back on and have a regular routine broadcast like I had before. It wouldn't be 2 days a week. Continue to follow the channels, because sometimes I do videos and get them put up. I've been trying to cycle through some of my older videos to get them a little more life out there, because there's a lot of folks who haven't seen them. And I don't know, is there a need to repeat, to do them again? Like, I've got a video out on cutting up a turkey. I mean, cutting up a turkey. It's easy. It really is. But there's a lot of people who would be intimidated because they've never done it. So is there a need for me really to record another one if I've already got the video out? I mean, that hasn't changed. Maybe a different recipe on something, but I don't know. So I've got quite a few videos out there on these kind of things. So if there's something out there that you'd like to see, message me and let me know. Put it in the comments. Let me know. I think that's about it. There was a couple things I was going, well, do we want to round this out? Let's round this out just to 2 hours. Let's just do that. I'll try it. So let me see how close I can get. This, for those of you who are on audio only, I'm holding up a bees wrap. Okay, a bees wrap. And so what it is a piece of 100% cotton. This is a store-bought one. This one I bought. And it is coated with beeswax. And the idea behind it is an ecologically sound, environmentally friendly, if you're into that, alternative to plastic wrap. And I bought a set of these a while back and kind of forgot about them. Got them back out recently when I made a boule of sourdough. And wrapped my sourdough in it, and it kept it pretty good. And I thought, wait a minute, what am I doing? So I was talking to Angie about it, and she'd never heard of them, but I was hoping she'd be able to be here today, but she's not, but she can watch the recording. So this is Bees Wrap. That's kind of a brand name kind of thing, and it's got it's got a print of like what honeybee cells or honeycomb cells are. And I was going to show and explain that that's what this is. That this is the size you might wrap a piece of cheese in. It's about 6 inches by 6, I think, maybe 6. You know what they say. But I was going to show it, and I was going to talk about it a little bit, how flexible it is, how easy they are to use. You just wipe them off if they get something stuck on them. But you got to be careful because you don't want to use heat. You don't want to put heat on these. Because it'll melt, it'll disrupt the beeswax and cause it to pool and come off, and then you won't be able to use it. I'm thinking about making some of these. And selling them. That'd be really easy to make. Now, to make them properly might not be so easy, because this one is very smooth. Of course, it's made probably in China. I don't remember. But it's very smooth. It's very evenly coated. There's no high spots or low spots of wax. So you wrap your stuff up like if you were, let me use my coffee cup here. So let's pretend that this is not coffee, but it's cheese or something. You cover it up and you wrap it up. and you fold this over itself, and then instead of plastic wrap. So then you take it off. Now, if you get something on it, you just kind of rinse it off with cool water, wipe it off a little bit, maybe a little dab of soap, but not a lot, because you don't want to mess up that beeswax. And then hang it and let it dry, or set it somewhere where it can drip dry, and you're good. And you just reuse it. And they come in different sizes. This is a medium size. I have a smaller size somewhere, but right now my large size is wrapped around a bowl of sourdough. And look, I can just fold it like that, and it just sticks to itself. So I ordered, and these just came yesterday. Should be considered an unboxing. I'm unboxing these because maybe I'm unboxing these. With the tapes on them. I don't have a knife or anything handy to break the tape. These are beeswax coated bowl covers that I got to cover my sourdough. They just came yesterday, and that's why I haven't opened them yet. And yeah, I got them from Amazon. It's a love-hate relationship I have with Amazon. Oh, okay. So they have that looks like a eucalyptus design. But these are round, I think. Can you see it? Oh, they've even got elastic. Okay. So that one has, the larger one has a eucalyptus design with, I don't know, some kind of little flower. The next size has, it looks like sort of like a magnolia or a dogwood on it. Oh, there's 4 sizes. I forgot about that. The next smaller size has kind of like the reverse of the eucalyptus plant pattern. And then the smallest one has, looks like violets. All right, so I'm going to show you, I'm going to use this one. So you can feel that they're coated, right? I don't know how to explain that, because it almost feels like rubber. It almost feels like rubber. Some of you guys be my age will remember the old rubber pants you used to put on babies over their diapers, over their cloth diapers. It kind of feels like that. But again, it's made to replace plastic wrap. Well, I wonder how they do that. They've put elastic on these. These go over a bowl it doesn't have to be sourdough, but what I bought it for was the sourdough, when you're letting it rise. So I'm going to give these a try. See how well I like them. They don't feel as tacky as this. I'll have to look at them some more and see. It's called Reva Hope beeswax bowl covers. Reusable, all natural, elastic. Elastic's not natural. Original design, gentle wash. Made from cotton, beeswax, jojoba oil, tree resin. Cold wash with gentle soap, hang to dry. Store in cool, well-ventilated place. Can be stored in the refrigerator, freezer. Do not store with heat. Do not use in a microwave oven or a baking tray. Rehope 5-size reusable wax wraps for food storage. And then I don't know what that is. I don't have my glasses on anyway, but it looks like a code number. Guess where they're made? Yep. In China. There they are. There they are. The box. So I will test those out. And I also got, I've got 6 minutes. I got 2 sourdough proofing bowls. I've been using just my regular kitchen bowls. These are Iforoe, Iforoe. That's the cover, actually. And this is the bowl, the round one. And it has it looks like this is not, it's real in that I'm holding it, but it's plastic. This is plastic. Resin, I think is what they were calling it. I got that one. Now this came in a set. So, and I got the Banneton shaped, which is, same company. Like that. That's got the things on it. So I'm going to be playing with my sourdough some more. But it's an hour and 55 minutes, and I didn't even want to go past an hour. I really appreciate you staying this long. I really do. I thank you so much. And I do appreciate, if you some of these things have the likes and the thumbs up kind of stuff. If you wouldn't mind to do that, I really appreciate it. It helps get me back in the loop for some of the programs, the YouTubes and the Rumbles and stuff like that. Algorithms is, what they say. But I do appreciate it. We're going to try to be back here again, like I said, on Tuesday if nothing happens. I've got a lot going on. We'll talk about that later. If you have a particular idea of what you want to talk about, drop it in the comments. Sooner or later, I'll see it. Go over to YouTube, not YouTube. Go over to Facebook, and look for Holstein House. That's my Facebook page for Holstein House. Check out what I've got posted there. We are an Airbnb. We are a B&B, a very small B&B. We do direct book our room. We do take Airbnb. You can go to robinholstein.com, ROBINHOLSTEIN.com, and you can do that. Let me put that on there just for a minute. Now that goes to /Holstein House Bed and Breakfast. That takes you to that page if you put all that in there. But if you just go to robinholstein.com and look at the blog posts, look at the Holstein House page, and you'll see what we're all about. We do take direct books. We do offer specials for our direct books, and that we don't offer to Airbnb. But I do appreciate you guys. I'm going to wrap it up there with 3 minutes. 3 minutes to go before it's 2 hours. But I love you, appreciate you, and we will see you next time. All right. Wait a minute. Oh, hang on a minute. I gotta do this.
So there you have it. Post your comments, do all that boosting, liking, sharing, thumbs up, and stuff that helps spread the word and poke the algorithms. Follow me on most of the big social media platforms and look for my name, Robin Holstein, or Holstein House. Till next time, bye-bye.